We can get started. Good morning again to everyone.
Good morning.
And we're going to start with a word of prayer, as we always do, with Bishop Craig Coates, who's our chaplain for the Annapolis City.
Let's pray. So gracious Father, we come together to strategize to make our communities better. Without your wisdom, without your guidance, this is impossible. So we thank you for every person at this table and every organization that they represent. Most importantly, we thank you for this community that we believe can get better and be well. That our children and our children's children can see the benefit of living in Annapolis. This is our prayer. Amen.
Amen. Everyone should have an agenda in front of them. And we started with our clergy prayer. And we're going to quickly go around the table and have everyone introduce themselves. And as you can see on the agenda, we have some special presentations from our community members this morning. So we'll just start with Dr. Hughes.
Good morning, Lorenzo Hughes, Anne Arundel County Public Schools Office of Equity.
Sergeant Amy Miguez with Annapolis Police Department.
Sarah Clark, I carry the Housing Authority curriculum.
Sarah Campson with Community Sisters and Recovery Anne Arundel.
Good morning, Patty Norris with Annapolis Police.
Dee Dee Rivers from St. Anne's and at the Stanton Center.
Barbara Arthur, St. Philip's and Stanton Center.
Rick Hutchison representing the SOFO, the Business Consortium along Forest Drive.
Good morning, Erin Snell, Executive Director of Charting Careers and Nonprofit.
Rita Dorsey Washington, Community Ambassador at Annapolis Senior High and Resident Service Coordinator in Woodside Government.
Eric Borchers, Annapolis Planning and Zoning.
Erin Holland, founder of Grandmare's Touch.
Tony Park, Community Activism Act.
Doug Smith, representing the STARE organization for literacy teaching to second graders.
Susan Schneider from Community Partner Director from Support United Methodist Church.
Robert Christian with the Annapolis Fire Department.
Mary Kate Zaborowski, MTA from Annapolis Office of Emergency Management.
Sally Nash, Department of Planning and Zoning, City of Annapolis.
Craig Coates, pastor of Fresh Start Church and also chaplain at Annapolis City Police Department.
Jerry Colbert, pastor of John Wesley United Methodist Church and chaplain at the City Police Department.
Isabel Vance Island, coordinator of the AA Power Program with the Department of Health.
Angel Trainer, Director of Serenity Sisters.
Darren.
Darren Ford with the Department of Health.
Good morning. And Rhonda Pendell Charles, Alderwoman Ward 3 and currently acting mayor. We're going to start with our presentations from our churches. As some of you may know, I had spoken with Mayor Buckley, and I just want to present to you a letter that Mayor Buckley has to our Street Corner Ministries Coalition. Our Chief of Staff talked with him this week. As many of you know, his mother passed away on last week, and we're expecting him within the next several days to return home. So this is a letter from Mayor Buckley in the interim. Mayor Buckley, I had gone to him and requested some assistance because, as you know, the genesis of the Street Corner Ministries Coalition was the adoption of churches of several communities. A lot of that had to do with the accountability. If there's an issue that we know going on at Bay Ridge Gardens, we know we can go to Pastor Jerry. And that's just an example, that we can go to John Wesley United Methodist Church if there's an issue in Bay Ridge Gardens. And so they are to provide, whether it's spiritual services or any other types of services that would benefit the community that they have adopted. So I asked Mayor Buckley if there was an opportunity for these churches to be provided some resources, some tangible financial resources to assist them. And he found some funding. And so each one of them have an opportunity to present a proposal to the city as to what they would utilize the $4,000 for. So each one of them has submitted it. We got a little got a little off, well, not off course, but we got a little break in the time because of Mayor Buckley's family situation. But it is within the mayor's office. So we're going to start with just no more than 5 to 10 minutes from each one of our churches to give us a summary of what they plan to do with the $4,000 in their proposals. I brought a copy of the proposal. Dr. Hughes also has a copy of the proposal. So we can start with First Christian. We'll move to Miss Rita at Woodside and Newtown, John Wesley, Pastor Bishop Craig, as well as St. Philip's. So if any of you have not have a copy that you brought with you, I have a copy of your proposal. So anyway, yes, Miss Rita?
Oh, I need a copy of it.
You need a copy, all right. Can you all pass this around to Miss Rita, please? What did you say? You submitted one? Okay. Yes. Yes, can you pass it around to Ms. Moyer, please? Thank you. And make sure that you all have signed the sign-in sheet. That is extraordinarily important because I'm going to give a copy of the sign-in sheet to Dr. Hughes as well. And we have someone joining us, Ms. Roxanne.
Hello, good morning.
Ms. Roxanne, can you tell us where you're coming from today?
I'm coming from Anne Arundel Workforce Development Corporation, career navigation specialist. I operate out of the Stanton Community Center.
Thank you very much. All right, we can start with First Christian. Thank you, Ms. Tony.
So good morning, I'm Tony Pratt. I'll be representing First Christian. We're at Bywater Mutual Homes. We kicked off there in September, and we kicked off with the Unity and a Community Day. People from not only Bywater came, people from all of the other communities came. It was a good time had for all. We had vendors, we had a DJ, we had a band, just to get to know the residents that we're going to be serving. After that, we have established addictions and co-addiction support group there. Every Monday night from 7 to 8, we are there with residents from there and other places to support them with their addictions and co-addictions. Also, we plan to, as we move forward, educational materials for Narcan training. We plan to do some Narcan training. We plan to do some in-depth talking to the residents on what is actually needed to help them with this opioid issue, with this drug issue. I would that we would be able to train some of the people who have come out of addiction and are in recovery to be peer support. That's very important because some of the people that live in the communities that we're representing think you're in recovery and it's no real way to give back. So we plan on bringing that to the community. Quarterly gathering to discuss women issues and topics. So we also have a meet and talk with the women in the community to find out what some of their needs are, some of the barriers to getting employment, some of the barriers to get housing, and we want to offer resources for those issues in the area. The men who are re-entering back into society have barriers with housing. If you have a background in Anne Arundel County, you can't get housing. That's an issue. We want to see how we can tackle those barriers, not only on a local level, but on a state level. Those are some issues. We want to gain relationship is the main purpose we're there. Because a lot of times I feel like we go into communities and we tell them what they need, but we never listen to what they need. So the biggest thing is building a foundation on finding out what the residents really need. And once we find out what they need, help them to put in place what it'll take for them to get to the next step. Because I can't go into their community and tell them what they need. I need to find out what they need so that not only will we be there, we will be effective while we're there. So those are some of the different things that we want to do with the funding to help uniform supplies. We want to help with the gap with that. We want to help the residents of Bywater who had negative food accounts to close that gap on their food accounts. Because believe it or not, we have a lot of students in the different communities who have negative food accounts that can't get lunch. So those are some of the different things that we would do with the funding if we were awarded it.
Thank you so much, Tony. One thing I just want to stress, especially since I'm now down at the board with Dr. Hughes, we want to make sure that the school system understands the impact that each one of you all are making, whether it's your proposal, whether it's your volunteerism, whatever it is, It affects families, it affects students, it affects the mothers, the fathers, the communities. It's a direct situation when it comes to the school system and the city of Annapolis. So thank you so much, Tony. We
One
appreciate
thing
it.
I wanted to add, I'm sorry, is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
I'm not only working in Bywater on a capacity with First Christian, but I work in Woodside, I work in Newtown, I work in Bay Ridge Gardens, I work in Eastport, I work in Harbor House. So I'm working in all of these communities. But everybody around this table, we need your help to also work in these communities. If we want to sustain and build healthy, thriving communities, we all need to be working together.
May I ask that?
Oh, certainly.
I just need clarification because you said that there's students who have negative food accounts. And
Yeah.
I don't know the particular students, but these students, if they're living in those communities, I'm going to make the assumption that they receive free and reduced meals.
That is an assumption that you're making.
And-
Everybody who lives in those communities don't
Do not
receive
make-
free and reduced meals.
Thank you for the
Yes,
clarification.
you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Tony. Appreciate it. And we had another arrival, Pastor Cheryl. Can you tell us who you are and what community you are outstandingly supporting?
Hi, I'm Pastor Cheryl Menendez from Light of the World and Restoration Community Development. And we have the adolescent, hey y'all, that's my favorite. We have the adolescent recovery clubhouses for behavioral health in Annapolis, in Robinwood, and our children actually come from all of the communities. We pick them up every day. We've been there for 7 years as of June, and we have an MOU with Anne Arundel County Public Schools, and of course we have other schools that we work in as well.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. We're going to move to Miss Rita at Newtown 20 Woodside Gardens. They've been adopted by Evangelical Presbyterian Church, Downtown Hope Church, and Calvary Community Church of Reva.
Hello, everybody. So the only church that actually submitted the proposal was Downtown Hope. And we worked together to come up with their proposal of what the needs were within our community. I was explaining to Miss Janice that a lot of the guys are standing on the streets because they're needing to make money. So we needed to offer them some jobs where they can make the money legally that they make while they're standing on the corner. So that means they need to have some technical training schools, HVAC, ServPro, different things, waterproofing, different electricians. You know, we need those type of entrepreneurship offering workshops or something within our community so that those guys can see that and, you know, become legal and do things the right way and to be able to sustain themselves and their families. So in her proposal, they propose to organize, advertise, and host information sessions from trade companies around Forest Drive Quarter. This will include plumbing, HVAC, mold redemption, ServPro, security services, mosquito control, bed bug control, waterproofing, carpeting, installation, painting, and along with entrepreneurial companies, food trucks, landscaping, and such things like that. They also want to help with the at-risk youth for job placements nearby, to understand the procedures for licensing and bonding, internships, offer youth to gain experience in trade industries. She had some conversation with Adetola from the mayor's office and would also adding components to mentoring the school. AA workforce, she's also said she's connected with them as well. So for them to use the funding, we would propose the funds that the city of Annapolis be used on a percentage basis. There's an important component for this program, which involves additional security services. We have security right now within Woodside, 4 hours during the day and 4 hours in the evening. So a lot of the activity is happening in between those times. APD comes through, but of course, the people that are doing the stuff that's making the community a little rough, know the time frames in which security is there and which times that APD comes through. So a lot of the things that programs we have going on in the community, they've asked to put a hold harmless clause so that we wouldn't be liable for them when they come on, our programs to come on the property if they get hurt or something like that. So she proposes that she will have, use part of the finances to be able to use for security. So to ask security to stay on the timeframes that programs are running within the community to be able to be an asset to the community.
Thank you, Ms. Rita. Do you want to just give us a few words about how the boxing program is come about with Mr. Archie?
So about maybe 2-3 weeks ago, I had a meeting with Mr. Archie Trader. We had a conversation with some of the young men, and they were interested in boxing.
About how old are these young men?
Between 13 to 20. And they're the guys that are not plugged into the programs. They're people, the kids, the young guys that stand out on the corners and things like that. And so they had an interest in boxing. So I met with Mr. Archie Trader, and we had a great meeting. We planned for him to come down, meet the young guys, explain the program to them, and then we'd be able to have the boxing, be able to transport the children from Woodside down here to Moyer to take part in the boxing program.
Great.
With the mayor being out, our sit-down meeting time got a little out of whack, but that's our plan to have the boxing.
Thank you. The other thing I want to mention to you all about these proposals and what the mayor is offering to us, we know that there's a huge issue in our city regarding transportation. We have some great programs, but getting the children from place to place is extremely difficult. So we put some money within this proposal for the mayor. It's another pot of money for Mr. Archie, who's the director of Rec and Parks, to purchase another van. And we're looking for the churches to maybe have a CDL driver, but that's a conversation for another day. But we really do need another mode of transportation. Ms. Roxanne, you had something to say.
I just wanted to respond a moment to what Rita said as far as getting training and workforce skills. We provide a lot of those services under Anne Arundel Workforce Development, but they have to come through the door. So of course, there's a center right in Annapolis at the Stanton Center where they can come in and get those services. And actually, I had a success story just as of yesterday I'd like to share with you all. A gentleman who he's 18 months clean from drug addiction, and he came into the office. I've been in Annapolis about 3 months prior. Prior to that, I was at Meade Village, where there was a lot of success. But he wanted a job. He was determined he wanted a job with the State Highway Administration. So we went back and forth. So I helped him with his resume. We went online so he could apply. He had to take some tests and take a couple of tests, things of that nature. And that was back in October, November when I first got there. So bring it forward. Yesterday he came in. Well, I have pictures when he went on his interview and the whole 9 yards. He came in yesterday with his letter. He's going to be making $35,000 a year as a facility maintenance staff. Not a lot of experience, went through addiction, and now so they just need to come through the door so we can work with them on a regular basis to get them to a place. And it's a process, and it takes steps, and some of them will come and, don't come back. Some of them will come and then come back and say, okay, let's try this again. But we got to get them in the door and let them know that there are services available to them. There are resources available.
Yeah, anytime we get flyers or anything, I'm walking the property to the guys that are standing on the corner, and I hand them out the opportunities for free training and all of that kind of stuff.
And transportation
yes, transportation is a huge issue for our community. Having it on property would hopefully be able to, because I go out in the street and I pull them in to the community center and stuff like that. So I'm hoping us having it on the property, to be able to offer it on the property, we can get more young men to come in and at least get the information and then, lead them in the right direction for them to be able to take part in it.
Thank you so much, ladies. Ms. Nisi, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Euphemia Griffin. I'm with Pastor Menendez for the Light and Road Restoration.
Thank you so much. And sir?
I'm Daniel Hollins. I'm the Love Annapolis Director from Downtown Hope.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming in. And Ms. Rita just presented your proposal. But thank you so much from Downtown Hope. And give our best to Pastor Joe and Ms. Janice.
Will do.
All right. We'll move on to Bay Ridge Gardens and John Wesley United Methodist Church. Pastor Jerry.
Bay Ridge continue in a struggle for human rights and a better community. I thank Tony and Mrs. Peters for helping to organize a resident council down there. And through our struggle, they do have new cameras now. I talked to the chief about that. They're going to integrate their system with the police department. They have a new cleaning service that walks the community every day and picks up the trash, and new lights are being installed. One of the issues that continue down there is the turnover of new property managers. They have a new property manager who is not community friendly. On Thursday, there will be a meeting with HUB. I believe Major Herman from the police department has agreed to be there to talk about the residents and their rights. There is no longer an open door policy down there, and appointments have to be made for anything that wish to be talked about, and those appointments are not always kept. Very few of them are kept. They upgraded their newsletter, which is very beautiful, but there's really nothing of substantial information in it. I would like to see information in there on new policies that affect the residents, because we all know it's the unknown that makes us afraid. I'm working with the resident council to push IDs, because there are a lot of folks who visit and stay all day and lobby around and create havoc in the community. So we're working on that. One of the things we plan to do with the grant is to provide mentoring programs, camping programs, summer food programs, spiritual enrichment. And like Tony said, churches have to change their philosophy on ministry and not go into communities and tell communities what they think they need. We have to be more of a listening ear and to cater and provide to their needs. And sometimes it's just entertainment, and just basic entertainment. I believe that's where we are right now. That's all I need to highlight, except for we need John Wesley is in the community every Friday at 6 p.m. for a community prayer service. All of you are welcome. We're having a problem with cold weather getting into the community center with the new management, which was not a problem in the past, but hopefully we can resolve that on Thursday evening. Sometimes some of the residents show up and sometimes they don't, but that's not our aim. Our aim is to build better neighbors and better communities. The ambassador program works sometime in that community and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the residents close the door and say it's none of your business while you're here. But the candidate that works that community does not take no for an answer. So, we need to pray for that situation, that no harm comes to that, to those persons that in that program, because sometimes those residents are hostile and they go through so many different things in life that they feel they have no control over. And so that's where we are. I look forward to our gathering on Thursday with Hub. Hub will be there to explain to the residents what their rights are. Right now, they feel as though they have no rights. So that's where we are.
Thank you, Pastor Jerry. I want to give a shout out publicly to Miss Phyllis, who's the resident services manager down there. She is excellent.
Yes.
I also want to point up the fact that Pastor Jerry has indicated that since he's been in that community, 3 families have joined the church. They have a very good youth ministry based on that. They're right across the street. Also, we have one carrying Annapolis in the summer. And Pastor Jerry, can you elaborate on that? And also the Bay Ridge Gardens community meeting. I went to the last couple of meetings, and we're in the process of organizing the residents to have a speaker every month to provide information. I've had an opportunity to communicate with the new Rose, the name of the company is Rose, I believe, with that young lady, and I encouraged her to come. Kristen's trying to get it. Encouraged her to come and speak with the residents. Come on in, Krista. And so the genesis, as we said, of Street Corner Ministries was for a church to adopt. Thank you, Miss Tony. Miss Tony has to leave. She's going to be talking to children at Hillsmere Elementary this morning. So anyway. So Pastor Jerry, good morning, Miss Krista. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning. I'm Krista Blanco with the Anne Arundel County Infants and Toddlers Program.
And one care in Annapolis that we have.
Basically, one care in Annapolis is a evening 45 minutes to an hour where residents come either at the community center or Bay Ridge Gardens, and when they come in, they are given raffle tickets. We start off by singing anything or everything, some Christian songs, some R&B, whatever, and just a 2-minute talk building relationships. But during that time, raffles, names are drawn, and people can win a bag of groceries, cleaning supplies, water, or whatever. So that's basically what One Care is, and it's to help the physical need as well as the spiritual need.
Thank you, Pastor Jerry. And when we get to Miss Dee Dee, we'll hear a really good story about One Care in Annapolis. As all of you know, good morning, Miss Claudia. As all of you know, next on our agenda is St. Philip's, who has adopted Annapolis Gardens, and Miss Barbara.
Hi, I'm Barbara Arthur from St. Philip's Episcopal. When we first began at Street Ministries, we were at Bloomsbury Square, and that was like a prayer in the community, just to sort of get acquainted with that community. Then we also started building a relationship at Morris Blum. We had game days there, and we attended their community day. But now we've moved on to Annapolis Gardens. We're in the process of building a relationship with Annapolis Gardens. We have been to their Thanksgiving, they had a Thanksgiving dinner, we attended that. We've been going to their resident council meetings. The resident council is a little shaky, and they're supposed to be having elections, but they haven't quite had elections yet, so we don't quite know who we're working with. But we'll figure that out in the meantime. But they've been a pretty welcoming community with the few people that have been showing up. And they have asked for Bible study, which we're going to start next week. So for the grant, we would like to continue building relationships through requested Bible study. Our aim is to interact with the community to provide activities at their place and at St. Philip's, and to provide drug abuse information So those are the goals we have. We would like to, over the summer, we field trip, have a big day where we go eat with them, and then another day they'll all come to St. Philip's just to, we're anxious for the resident council to get officers, so we have somebody to work with, because we know they have problems with mold and appliances that don't work and all kinds, various problems, but we can't quite get our hand. They have a management that seems to be a little more cooperative than the previous management was. So we are encouraged, that we have somebody to work with.
I think the genesis of how that started with the Annapolis Gardens was Miss Debbie, who's the resident council president, actually came to a service one morning and spoke to Father Calendar. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how that relationship started. So thank you so much, Miss Barbara. We're going to move on to our public safety team, Annapolis Police Department. Oh, I'm sorry, Bishop Craig. So sorry, Bishop Craig. I'm sorry. Skipped over. New glasses. Go ahead.
I need those. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Fresh Start Church has spent last spring and summer and fall in community engagement on Friday nights, walking the communities of Eastport Terrace and Harbor House, having prayer with individuals, conversation, just to show our presence. And it proved to be very meaningful because unfortunately, there was a tragedy last year, and by the community already engaging, they were more willing to receive the help and the hugs from members of our congregation. In that process, an assessment was taken. One of the ladies who was from the community had joined our congregation, and she had 8 years clean, and she wanted to give back. And so the manner in which she's been giving back last year was having one-on-one appointments with people who were interested in getting into drug treatment. We had some barriers initially that have been recently worked out, where our Recover and Win Addiction Support Group will be partnering with HACA to bring weekly meetings to the community for drug recovery. In addition to that, and I want to say hats off to you for creating this opportunity for us to bring faith and work to the community. On the faith side, this year we're proposing a community revival, actually, to uplift the residents and to provide support for families who suffered trauma as a result of senseless violence in the communities. I've been working in that capacity since 1998 with communities, but we didn't necessarily always have an open door to come in and work as a church in the community. And I'm very excited because there's a young lady that I've come to know who is pretty much, I think, a gospel celebrity in a sense. She's very well known for her music talent, but more importantly, for her recent confession to alcohol addiction and her recovery. So we hosted her this winter at the church just to see the response. And Annapolis absolutely loves her, Leandria Johnson. So I spoke with her about coming back to be our guest artist for that revival. She draws so many people because she's very real. And so we have put in a proposal for help with refreshments for some of the meetings, with community engagement. We want to give stipends for people in the community to learn how to engage with their community and go door to door. We want to put up a tent and chairs and everything out there on the field and just really have a good old-fashioned soul-lifting time. And the final thing I want to say is we also work with Eastport Working Together. I think that's going to be part of the presentation, right? Okay, so we are recently partnered with Coldwell and Banker and Capital Clothers. So if any of the people you're working with need, particularly men, need business attire for interviews or for job, today they're donating to our location 140 suits. Many of them are very upscale suits, but they're being donated for community residents in Annapolis who need clothing for their new jobs that require a certain dress code, or for an interview. Just let me know. We will gladly bring them in, and the process is we will make them really feel like a VIP. Annapolis Clothing or the Brett Covington would do an actual fitting with him. And if he's busy, I'll put my skills to it, and we'll do an actual fitting and get them tailored and ready to go. We just did that this winter with a group of homeless men, where they had the opportunity to attend an event, and tuxedo down, fresh haircuts and everything, and it just made a world of difference to be able to see themselves differently. So I'm really excited about working with all of the partners at the table in any capacity, and Fresh Start is certainly ready to work as well. So that's our goal this year.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Bishop
you.
Craig. Appreciate it. Now we're going to move to our public safety team, which is our Annapolis City Police Department, our Annapolis Fire Department, as well as our Office of Emergency Management. And
I'll start. So we were involved in over 1,000 events and activities last year throughout the city. You know, a lot of them attended by children and families. We have many specific programs that service school-age kids. We do character counts, which is where we visit 6 elementary schools in the city, all the 3rd grade classes in that school. We have someone visit once a week and deliver the character counts program, which is about the 6 pillars of character. Fits in with a lot of the schools' already existing curriculum. We go visit homework clubs in many of the communities after school. Also do DARE. We were doing it at the middle school. This year it's just at St. Mary's. We do summer camps for the kids. We have an Explorers Club, which is for kids middle school age and older who are interested in being police officers, as well as our cadet program for kids 18 to 21. So we actually have a cadet in the police academy right now who was a cadet, and now he's going to be a police officer. So we also participate in career days at the schools, the reading days. We go on field trips with the kids when they need chaperones. A lot of times that's a challenge. We participate in field days. We did a kickball game, big tournament that Eastport Elementary had on Veterans Day, which is lots of fun. Stop in and have lunch with the kids. We do mentoring at some of the elementary schools. We do food drops at Tyler Heights Elementary once a month for the families picking their kids up from school to also pick up food. We work with the schools to identify any children that have had police contacts. Very limited information. It's just called Handle with Care. So just letting the principal be aware that the child had some sort of interaction for victims and witnesses of crimes. We do outreach with Hispanic youth. We have several programs that we partner with the school bilingual facilitators to have youth groups and groups of their parents to talk about some of the issues that they're facing. We also have 2 new things starting next month, a drug prevention program that's geared toward youth, middle school age and older, and also a basketball league that we're doing for 17 to 24-year-olds with the Partnership for Youth Families.
Yep.
I think that's about, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot. The scholarship program that we do as well. We are expanding that program right now. It's $1,000 scholarships to high school seniors that are graduating and going on. We're seeking to expand that across their years of learning, and also not just for kids going to college, but also for technical schools and trade schools. But it's funded with donations, so we're building up that fund so that we can expand it. Also, when the kids are off of school, so this last couple
Thursday, the 30th.
Yeah, we in January, the end of January, they had a day off. We took a bunch of kids ice skating. We have a basketball game we're going to this month at the Naval Academy. So when the kids have early release days or they have days that they're off, we try to schedule these pop-up kind of camps to have kids come and do something fun.
We are having a fundraiser for our scholarship program March 18th, I think, at the Market House downtown. So you all are invited. We'd love for you to come. We have a silent auction, and it's just a fun evening, and all of the proceeds go directly to the scholarship fund.
Sergeant McGinnis, how many 1,000 scholarships did you give last year?
Last year was it?
Last year we gave nine. We
Nine.
gave 7 1,000 and then 2 $500 scholarships. Yes.
Yeah, so we had someone donate $5,000 to give 5 $1,000 scholarships in honor, in memory of the victims of the Capitol Gazette shooting. And then we had our additional scholarships that we did, and we focus on kids that live in the city. That's who you have to be living in the city to be eligible. And then we also have a very for your typical scholarship, our GPA is pretty low because we want to get the kids that, you know, this might be the difference between them going to school and not going to school. You know, not the ones that are picking which school has the most scholarships that they've been offered and which, you know. So we actually had a couple of them that were going to the community college, which is exactly who we're trying to reach, is the kids that this, it's not a big amount, but it might make a difference for them.
All right. Thank you so much,
And
Sergeant McGinnis.
we do hold Eastport Working Together. Our next meeting is next Tuesday, and it's a group that Bishop Coates facilitates. It kind of came out of a homicide in the city of a 17-year-old 2 years ago, and the group has been meeting. It has kind of ebbed and flowed, but there was an incident in Eastport Terrace last night, and right now the group is taking up school bus transportation as one of their issues, because the kids from that community, from Harbor House and Eastport Terrace, walk not only to Annapolis Middle School, but also to Eastport Elementary School, and it's quite a far walk. So they're trying to petition the board to relook at the transportation issue there.
I think that issue was brought up at the Annapolis Education
It was.
Commission the other night
Yeah.
on Monday,
Yeah.
when Mr. Fisher from HACA had brought in some
Brought
children.
children, yeah.
I talked to Ms. Collison Lee, who's a vice president of AEC, and talked with her briefly about it. I was not able to make the meeting, but I did go down there just after the meeting had ended. And I think Mr. Moyer was there, and I know Mr. Moyer and the prior meeting had assisted with a transportation issue for a grandmother.
Okay.
And so it was my responsibility to go back and check with Mr. Moyer to see if he was going to do that. But since Dr. Hughes is here, that's something that we can also discuss later on. So excuse me.
And it is Unity Day today in Annapolis and Anne Arundel County Public Schools. That's why Amy and I are twins. So Sergeant McGinnis and I are twins today. We go to the lunches. They have Unity. I guess it's I don't know if it's once every other month or a quarter.
It's a quarter.
It's a quarter. Yeah. And so typically we'll go to lunch with the kids and just show our unity as law enforcement.
Ms. Patty, you want to give a few words about your homework club and all the different communities you're in?
Sure. Miss Sarah, I visit a homework club pretty much every day afternoon when the homework clubs start. On Mondays I go to Robinwood, and they have children there, all age ranges. Anyone is invited to attend to the homework clubs. Ms. Sarah, who I'm sure will tell you more about it, has started a curriculum-based homework club at the Housing Authority. It's been very helpful. On Thursdays, I'm with Ms. Dee Dee at the Stanton Center. Tuesdays, I go to Harbor House and Eastport Terrace. And then on Wednesdays, I was at Newtown 20, and I just told Ms. Rita, maybe I'll come to Woodside to their homework haven there. So there are lots of opportunities to volunteer and to tutor children, and it is very, very rewarding. Ms. Dee Dee could probably tell you.
She's a hero when she
No.
comes to the Stanton Center.
It's like a light bulb.
It's an awesome opportunity, and there's so many opportunities within the city to do it. And the STAIR program as well is a great opportunity to tutor children.
Thank you, Ms. Patty. MK from OEM.
Hello. Good morning. So I'm going to give a brief update on our substance use disorder efforts. So back in 2017, the governor issued a state of emergency, and that allowed emergency management to kind of come in the forefront and lead the OIT. So in 2017, the state created the Opioid Operational Command Center, known as the OOC. And then he commanded that every jurisdiction in Maryland create an opioid intervention team, so OIT. And those teams are led by the emergency managers and the health officer. So in Anne Arundel County, we have a joint OIT. And the primary areas there are law enforcement, fire, EMS, 911, health and medical, education's a big piece, human services, and the justice system. So after about 7 months working on this OIT, we realized that the city of Annapolis was very different in terms of demographics and overall approaches as to how we're going to handle this substance use disorder within the city. So that brought us together, and we thought, well, maybe we just create a subset of the OIT called the Annapolis OIT. And so our focus areas for that are prevention, enforcement, harm reduction, quality of life, and education for there as well. So although it's called OIT, we don't just take opioids, we use it as a substance use disorder platform. So we're tackling it from that whole community approach. And that's basically what we do in emergency management, is we tackle it as a whole community. So we're bringing together faith-based leaders, people with lived experiences, all of our health departments, services, DSS, everything. And so, we come together and we think about strategies and programs and initiatives that we can fund, and all of our funding comes from this OOC, the state level agency. So although the funding is tied to the use of opioids, we are continuously looking for all types of programs and initiatives to support combating substance use disorder in the city of Annapolis. So basically this coming year, we're focusing on APD's project and OD Free Annapolis. So if anyone has been introduced to that, or if you haven't, it's basically your one-stop shop platform, and the big key thing about that is the interactive dashboard. So if you go to annapolis.gov/OD-free, you'll find city-specific information about substance use disorders. So it's an interactive dashboard. You can click on it and filter it and kind of get all the information that you need. And that information is provided to us by the police department. So,
Yep. Thank you so much. And before we get to the fire department, OD Free, we had a grant last year, OD Free through OEM. We had one through the mayor's office, NOM, and then we had one from the fire department, Your Life Matters. So with the fire department?
So as my counterpart said, we participate with the county OIT, or the city OIT, I should say, specifically. We have a program that the acting mayor just referred to as the Your Life Matters. In that program, our personnel trains over 900 some odd people and the use of Narcan. And we've also done handouts in communities with Narcan. In addition to that, we also have a Narcan Leave Behind program that is a pilot program that we had to apply for through MIMS. So if we are on location with somebody that has an overdose, we can provide Narcan and training on the spot to the family. So if there's a subsequent event, then hopefully they can handle it and get us out to follow up. The other program is we incorporate with that is CPR. Obviously, CPR is really important with any of these overdoses, especially if it gets beyond the point where people stop breathing and that sort of thing. So we incorporate that into Your Life Matters. The other big thing that we participate in is safe stations. So Safe Station program was started a couple of years ago, where the fire department is a safe place where people that want to change, want to get help, want to do something different with addictions to anything, whether it be opioids or whatever else, they can come to the firehouse, ring the doorbell, and we get them plugged into the system with crisis response, trying to get them help to get started and then into some sort of recovery program. The other two things that we also obviously participate in some of the community events for multiple food drives. We participated with the coat drive this winter, where people dropped off coats and then we were able to provide those to the community. And then the last thing that we have is the toy drive we do with the Santa Run. That you see us out on the streets in December, but Captain U-Hitch is active throughout the year in multiple events. They've helped with food drives, but they also, the big event at the end of the years, we collect toys from neighborhoods to give to the kids, and we strategically do that through the school systems, because we found that the counselors pretty much know who's not gonna have a great Christmas. So they do a pretty good job of helping us out, getting those to the right places. And this year in particular, we helped 650 families with over 1,000 kids. We had a lot of participation from volunteers. We had 240 people volunteer and help us with the drive this year. And there were 4,000 people that participated in donating toys and things like that for the kids. So the other person I probably should mention and highlight is Captain Edwards, because virtually the lion's share of all the opioid work and the Your Life Matters that's Captain Edwards' baby. So I see a lot of shaking heads, so everybody knows the kind of effort that he's put in. So I just wanted to mention his name, but he's worked tirelessly on those programs.
Thank you so very much. Last night I was trained on Narcan by Miss Claudia over there, and I'm going to give them an opportunity to say a couple of things from the Anne Arundel County Health Department, but also Miss Reed, we're going to give her an opportunity to talk about the couple of lives that she actually saved down at Newtown 20. Claudia and Darren, would you like to introduce yourselves and tell us a little something of what you're doing?
Sure. Good
Pastor
morning.
Cheryl, are you?
I have to leave.
Is Miss Nisi gonna be?
No, she's going with me.
Oh, okay.
I got it.
Okay.
Yes, I have to go to BHA in Frederick.
Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Claudia Jackson. I'm with the Anne Arundel County Health Department. So, as the active manager was saying, she started with Narcan, so I'll start with our most recent initiative with it, which is AA Power. So that is Anne Arundel County peers offering wellness education resources. So it's a community outreach program where peers or people with lived experience go into the communities, set up their outreach table, and distribute any harm reduction tools, including Narcan, fentanyl testing strips. So we began last July with our street outreach portion. We had a pause because of some staffing obstacles, so we are to run again in March. I want to introduce Ezell. She's come on board as our AA Power Annapolis coordinator. So we do have a coordinator that's focused just on Annapolis, and we'll have a coordinator focused just on the county because, as Mary Kate said, it's very different. So with that being said, we invite anyone to come volunteer with us because the premise is for people from the community to serve their community. That's how the program will sustain itself, and the county will provide all of the resources and tools that you'll need. Volunteers will be compensated via gift cards for their time served with us. We will be having monthly meetings where we'll have engagement with people who volunteer, become power members. We'll give them resume building skills, any opportunities that we may see that we can bring to them. We will serve lunch, things like that. So it starts out as a casual employment model, but the way that we wanted to go is to graduate into maybe a site leader and then become a employment or facilitator employed by the county. So that's a bit about our program. Narcan, as everyone knows, is very important. So please, if you don't have a kit or you're not aware, please come back and get yourself one. Ms. Rita?
In Woodside and Newtown, 2000, I'm believing it was January 30th, 2018, was the first person I had to encounter that I had to assist with saving their lives. I had gone out of the community to take one of the kids from the community to a local Bible study, and I happened to come back because I remembered that I left the heater on in the pantry. So I came back to the community. The gentleman was laying on the sidewalk, and he had overdosed on heroin. His daughter was standing over top of him.
How old is the daughter?
The daughter, she's in early 20s. She's early 20s. Someone called her and said that he was out again. So this wasn't the first time that he has overdosed, but this is the first time he had been out there that long. So when I drove into the community, she was standing over top of him, and she was on the phone with the paramedics, waiting for them to arrive. And I quickly found out what he was using. Ran into my office and got the Narcan and assisted, in saving his life. he required 2 dosages, so by the time the paramedics got there, they had given him the 2nd dose to actually revive him. When I looked at the cameras because I had to do an incident report, when I looked at the cameras, he had been out there for 15 minutes. It was the coldest, one of the coldest days of the year. He had been out there for 15 minutes, and the biggest concern for me was that people were walking past, and this is somebody that they've seen before it happened, so no one tended to him. So I thank God that I had come back into the community to be in the right place at the right time.
Ms. Rita, wasn't that the occasion where the young kids were standing around?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And that was, one of the biggest concerns is people always say that children are too young for certain things. Well, in a community like Newtown, I don't believe that they're too young for some of the stuff that people say that they are. Because when it comes to drugs and seeing people overdose, it's a regular occurrence for them. They've experienced it in households. People have died in their household from overdose. So the children were standing around me and I was giving him the Narcan, asking what I was doing. So I really did think that those children who were inquiring what I was doing, they were old enough to understand and to be able to administer Narcan to somebody in their family or friend that may be at their house that overdosed. I know 2 children in particular. This particular family, someone overdosed in their house 4 times, and the 5th time he died while the children were in there. So they could have possibly been someone that could have helped save this gentleman's life.
And you trained the children right there on the spot?
Yes.
With down and out.
The 2nd incident, I was on my way to a funeral of another person who passed away from an overdose in the community. Someone from the street ran in and said, "Miss Rita, somebody needs you." I go to the bus stop and he was out. He had been, now this was the hottest day of the year. And he was out, and I looked at the camera again, approximately 10 to 15 minutes he was out there. It took 3 dosages of Narcan to get him out. At that time, well, Chief Edwards has been a blessing to me as far as providing Narcan. Me and myself and Tony have been the people that have been hands-on distributing Narcan in the community. Ms. Finlayson did a resource day in the community and multiple resources there. People took advantage of it, but the one that they took the most advantage of was the Narcan training. So on that particular day, I had my first Narcan training October 30th, 2018. I believe 2018. And people said that the people weren't being interested, they wouldn't come to the classes or anything like that. 28 people was trained and equipped with Narcan on that day. Ms. Finlayson came to the community, she had a resource day, and we had almost 30 people. I was pulling people from back 20 everywhere, telling them to come and take part in this training. The gentleman that was at the bus stop, Chief Edwards, because of how many people were surrounding him and because of the amount of Narcan it took to get him awake, I called Chief Edwards right away, and he came within the hour. And I told him that they won't allow me to do it within the building anymore. We can do it right in the street where it happened. And he did it at the bus stop. And we had so many people come over to get Narcan and was trained with it. And then we ran into a little shortage in the community at a really detrimental time in the community. We were having overdoses every Wednesday, 4 Wednesdays in a row. The following, on the 5th week, we didn't have it on a Wednesday, we had it on a Thursday. The same person that OD'd on Thursday, OD'd on Friday. So, of course, you would know I'm in a panic to make sure that we have Narcan within our community. Narcan has been a blessing to the community, and Chief Edwards has been a lifesaver. And I truly, truly love him for being right there saying, look, where you want it, we're going to set up shop, and that's where we're going to do it at. So.
And partner with AA.
Yes.
Health Department and the AA Power Program has been a tremendous help as well. Darren, yes, please, talk about your middle school program as well.
Woo, okay. My name is Darren Ford, and just a little bit of history of myself. I was born in Annapolis, but went away from it and lived literally across the country, and then came back as a minister, and then after ministry went into the mental health field. And as you speak, you're talking about the families, the children that were around of many different ages, right, experiencing these tragedies. So I'm now a clinical consultant for the Adolescents and Family Services through the Department of Health. And what we provide is we provide counseling and to the children that have experienced trauma and their families, but specifically the main client of Adolescents Family Services are the children from ages of 4 to 17. And a lot of these children that are coming to us have experienced drug abuse or seen what drug abuse does to a family. So all of our counselors and our psychologists and psychiatrists, they're specialized in trauma, and we have a team that works with those children to get them medication if that's a necessity, as well as to make sure the families get the services that they need, the parents get the services they need to help them. One of the things we began to do is group sessions, and one of these group sessions that we're putting out there in the public starting in April is called Family First, and it's focusing on the middle school age students and their parents. And part of the reasons why we're doing this group is that, as many of us know, working with the youth, the teenage years is when hormones kick in and they're trying to figure out themselves and find identity. And that's when the parents are pulling out their hairs like, what do we do, with them? So it's a processing group for 8 weeks, helping the parents to navigate through bullying, social media, trauma that they've experienced, and we're helping the kids separately learn techniques of how to navigate through those times. So that's what we're doing through the Adolescents and Family Services. We have an office in Langley, but we're also going to be seeing patients or clients right here off of Bestgate as well. So that's what we're offering here. And if you have any questions about our clinic, outpatient clinic, as well as just the resources that we offer through many of our partnerships within the health department, just stop by the table. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Darren. A couple things I want to mention about the OIT grant that MK mentioned. I had a meeting with Dr. Gillen's, our supervisor, last week, and within the governor's executive order, there must be someone on that OIT team that has experience in education. And I discussed this with the public safety team, and I am the rep on the OI team for the education experience part of it. And I sent that executive order to Dr. Gillen's last week so she could take a look at that. Adetola is not here this morning, but what I have done, he and I had gotten together and talked about a lot of the different programs that we're working on, and many of them are with you all. And I had, when my first initial meetings with Dr. Hughes as well as Dr. Gillen's, I gave them a whole litany of programming. And of course we know the mayor's theme is One Annapolis, so it's One Annapolis, one generational journey from pre-birth to post-work. So there were many programs that Adetola and I had put together, and we had submitted to Dr. Gillen's as well as Dr. Hughes. David Gerald is not here this morning. He's, of course, was our public works director, but now is our city manager. I asked Mr. Gerald to put together basically a financial statement as to the impact and the finances that the city provides that helps the school system. And you've heard Sergeant Miguez this morning talk about all of those programs that they're doing on behalf of our children who attend Anne Arundel County Public Schools. That costs money. That costs the city money. We've talked about the scholarships. That's helping children. So the city is putting out quite a bit of money to make sure that the children that attend our school system are healthy and happy. And so Mr. Gerald is putting something together for me. You've heard from the fire department this morning, the Toys for Tots, the different things that are going on. So I want the school system to have a clear understanding of the amount of money that the city is putting out when it comes to these programs. So that's a forthcoming piece of information. John Tell Green, who's the chief of staff for Senator Eldredge, I spoke with her on yesterday. She's going to be providing us with the different legislative bills
that apply to education. John Taylor emailed me early this morning and said because of the session now, they are running around and trying to get a lot of things accomplished. So just want to let you all know for our next meeting, I will provide you with that legislative information from her. She said she was going to try to make it today. Just to point out too, Tony had worked with Alice Kane as part of her staff through the Maryland State Legislature as well. So Tony has that connection with Delegate Kane. And as all of you know, Delegate Shanika Henson used to be the alderwoman for Ward 6. So we're all very closely tied. The other thing is too, the mayor as well as our county executive, as well as County Councilwoman Lisa Rodvian, as well as the two delegates and the senator, they meet together monthly and talk about the different areas of concentration, how we all can work together. I will say that in my 65 years of being in Annapolis, this is the best group of people and working relationship that we've ever had between the city, the county, as well as the state. Because a lot of this financial assistance is coming from the state. It's coming from our former county executive, Mr. Hsu, who's the czar, basically, for this opioid team. So we're very blessed. Also within our state health department, we have some very good friends. Mr. Bobby Neal, who is our secretary for the state health department, used to be our county executive. Mr. Tom Andrews, who's his chief of staff, used to be our city manager. Fran Phillips, as well as Dr. Chan, used to be our county health officers, and Tara Hardigan, who used to be our chief of staff in the mayor's office, is now doing constituent services there. So we have a lot of great connections and a lot of great friends throughout the state and the county that we rely on. Ergo, this is what we have at this table. We will move on. Light of the World Family Ministries, who has been in Robinwood for many, many years, and at this point, we'll hear their report.
Hi, I'm Josephine Brown, and I work with Restoration and Community Development with Light of the World. Please forgive me for reading notes because she had a meeting, so she just gave
And
me
I want to say
some-
one thing about Josephine. I've known her a long time. She used to walk me to Pearl Elementary School when I was a child.
That's a nice opening. Thank you. We at Restoration Community Development are honored to have MOUs for Anne Arundel County school system that allow us to work in city and county schools. For over 29 years we've been doing that. Over 11 years we've adopted the Robinwood community and have consistently worked in the community through our initial Strengthening Families program that we started in 2013. We opened first clubhouse in the state of Maryland, which is the H2O for Life Adolescent Recovery Clubhouse for children ages 12 to 18. Our program in Anne Arundel County Behavior Health allows us to provide educational components, guest speakers, trips, and other things to keep the kids occupied. Life skills, homework assistance, workforce, healthy eating, and we do provide meals to the kids at the clubhouse. Smoking cessations, substance abuse, mentors, reading, resume writing skills, employment opportunities, the arts. We have a small library with books, school bonding, and access to mental health services through partner agencies that are available. Restoration Community Development, what we did, we purchased 10 Chromebooks for homework to assist the kids for their homework for the students in that South County, in Annapolis South. Annapolis South is our clubhouse. That's the one in Robinwood. We also have a second clubhouse that we call at North Station. That's in Brooklyn Park. And we also have a music studio that we're waiting, to get it installed, get the electronic part done. Students receive hot meals each evening, and they have access to the clubhouse 5 days a week, 12 months a year. RCDC, that's the Restoration Community Development. We transport students from Newtown, Bywaters, Eastport, Terrace, Harbor House, Woodside, Clay Street. The students attend Bates, Annapolis Middle School and High School, Phoenix Center, and Adams. RCDC acquired grant acquired space, and after a lengthy process, we have built a music studio for our students. And we had a wonderful grand opening for that studio, and it was wonderful. The clubhouse is also supported by HUD, and we're grateful for additional partners such as Annapolis Police Department, Anne Arundel County Police, Pathways, Mental Health, Maryland Food Bank, Attorney Francine Diggs, Harold Lord, Jeff Huntington is an artist who did a beautiful mural down there after one of our local artists, Trey the Kid, was killed. And what we did, they did a mural at the music studio and donated it to him, and it is absolutely beautiful. And also we have partnered with Angel Trainer with Serenity Sisters and Ross. NAM, teachers in Anne Arundel County Recreation and Parks. Bridget Malakin, Hacker. And what RCDC has done, we recently purchased washers and dryers because we know that problem that kids have. They can bring a load of laundry when they come in the evening, wash it and dry it and take it home. And a lot of these kids are also taking care of younger kids in the house. And we've heard the story that kids don't go to school when their clothes are dirty or if they have to wear the same thing that they wore the day before. So those are the little things that, affect their self-esteem and their pride. Since 2013, RCDC has opened a second clubhouse. That's what I'm telling you about in Brooklyn Park. They're open 6 days a week. Students have access to mentors, transportation, reading, the computer lab, life skills, homework assistance, the same things that we offer in the clubhouse in Robinwood. We're entering our third year providing a free summer STEM camp, which the kids just love, for 1 week for ages 11 to 17, provided by a team member of Light of the World. We have a scientist that goes there at church. Her name is Tiffany Combs Henson. And her colleagues put on a STEM camp for the kids. Our Board of Director of Medical, Dr. Deontay Thompson, frequently serves as a guest speaker, and he also attends at church at Light of the World. Brooklyn Park Middle has 3 years housed our YES program, that's Youth Empowerment Services. The program is provided through the Governor's Office for Children and the Partnership for Children, Youth, and Families. We provide a team on campus and host after-school mentoring programs daily until 5 p.m. Students are also brought to the site from Lindell Middle. RCDC is also a Maryland Food Bank. We provided over 50,000 pounds of food over the last year, fresh vegetables, meat. We also had a station here, and we've done it in Robinwood as well. We work with the County Health Department for over 21 years. RCDC is also on the campus of Meade Middle for our Gyms and Jewels program. In March, we will be expanding YES programs to North County, where the principal is Eric Jefferson. Okay, I do have, I know we only had a couple of minutes, so we made up some booklets that I am sorry I could only share 2 of them because everybody had names on it and I didn't.
That's all right, Jim.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll get one to Dr. Hugh, one for this one here. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
All right.
Okay, moving on to Miss Dee Dee at St. Anne's.
Yes. St. Anne's has been involved in this, at the Stanton Center on Clay Street for a little over 20 years. And our homework program started very casually. A group of us were over there because of a prayer group. And we noticed that Lassie Belt, who is a teacher in Annapolis Public Schools now, and has been involved at the Stanton Center forever. Kids were coming in the afternoon and saying, "Oh, Mr. Lassie, can you help with homework?" So we just started helping him with homework. And now we work together with quite a few people, Barb and friends from St. Philip's, and whatever friends we can gather other than from St. Anne's to help with homework, and the police department. And so we work with the staff, Paulette and Chris Beck, and we're blessed to have a teacher. Sharon McElfish, who's a wonderful educator. We keep in very close touch with Annapolis Elementary, which is where most of our children come from. Occasionally have some from Eastport Elementary, but, and then Bates. But through Andrea Beckman, who's the guidance counselor at Annapolis Elementary, if we are concerned about a particular child, we can be in touch with her and find out from the teachers what we can do most to help the child academically. We really emphasize doing homework with them, but also just a lot of reading and working on their math facts. And we are blessed with a first-class library. We have a librarian who's retired, who has helped to put this library together. And this past Christmas, we were given a gift of $500 through the Christ Child Guild. And we were able to add a lot of wonderful books. I mean, our library is just so wonderful, and the kids love it. They love going in there and choosing a book, don't they, Patty? And they like to go in there and read if we can just get one or two at a time, have it quiet in there. But we are really blessed to have that. So other ways that we're involved with the children, we do the backpack buddies for Annapolis Elementary, so the kids have food to take home on the weekend. We do the backpacks in August through our church for all a new backpack and school supplies for the kids. And we're able, on days when there is no school, Paulette always plans programs at the Stanton Center for the kids to have a place to be and to have a lunch. So we, along with another organization, try to provide the lunch. And they get dinner every day during the week through the Maryland Food Bank. But if they're not in school that day, we don't get that dinner. So we try to help provide food for that night for the kids. When they go on trips, like this past weekend, the kids were able to go to the ice show in Washington. I'm not sure exactly what it was called, but we were able to give the money to provide for them to go out for dinner. We also, we have, and I know you'll hear more about the STAIR program, but we have this group of second grade boys who are in the STAIR program. And those little boys, I mean, I love those kids. They are so smart, and they're the kids who struggle a little bit more, the ones who are good readers. They always help the other kids, and really, really neat group of kids, and we're really grateful for the STAIR program. Let's see. And our children are from pre-K up through middle school. We don't have a lot of middle school children who come, but have a wonderful, older, like I am, but man who comes, and he loves to work with middle school kids. None of the rest of us are as good with him. He's really good in math. It's not definitely my strong suit. And these kids love him. So it's been really neat to have him as a volunteer. We sometimes have some high school students who volunteer with us. We'd love to have midshipmen, but we don't seem to be able to do very well with that, with getting midshipmen. But we also, at Christmas, have this amazing program that is put on by Sharon Disher, who is a graduate of the first class of women at the Naval Academy. And we really, really try to emphasize, and Paulette, who is the director of the homework program, of being kind, with children being kind and being generous and caring about other people. So this incredible program that Sharon Disher puts on, called the Math Mall, the children get quarters to buy presents, and there are tables all over the gym loaded with presents. And so each child gets a piece of paper with 8 slots, and they have to write down 8 people that they will give gifts to. Mothers, teachers, siblings, and then they have the quarters to use their math to go and buy the gifts. And each one of them has an elf with them. And this year we had about 40 midshipmen and the football team from Annapolis High School helping the kids. It is just something to behold. It is so precious. So that's one of the things that we get to be involved with. And let's see. We work with a couple of different organizations. Often some of us from St. Anne's are on their board, and one of them raises money for scholarships for the kids from the Homework Club and some other kids in the Play Street neighborhood to be able to go to summer camp. And we have had a summer reading program early in the morning before the camp gets started for 2 years. Last year we did not get to have it, but we're planning on doing it again this year. And it has been, when we first started to do it, Archie Trader said, Dee, I don't think those kids are going to want to read in the morning and in the summer. But they have jumped at it. They love it. And even the middle school girls, the first year they picked a book about the Holocaust, and then they wanted to read The Diary of Anne Frank, and it's just been really wonderful to see their interest in reading. So we really do encourage that, and we work with a wonderful staff and great friends, and so it's just a joy to be there. We too had a family who of very precious children who were in the home when one of the mothers overdosed from heroin and died. And so just really loving and reaching out to that family has been a big part of this year. And other families in the neighborhood. We love when you all started the praying around the neighborhoods, and that has been a wonderful experience, and getting to know some people sitting on their porches and visiting with them, and actually praying one night for a man. I asked, where was this particular man? They said he's in a helicopter going to Washington Hospital Center. He had a brain bleed. And so we were there at that minute, and I just said to all the neighbors who were around, come on, let's just pray together for him. And it was really a wonderful thing. We've kept up with that family. So.
We have.
I could go on and on, but
sorry. A component of Street Corner Ministries is one carrying Annapolis, and as many, like I said, many of us know, the mayor's theme is one Annapolis, so we try to revolve everything around that. And Friday, like every community does it differently. Miss Dee Dee on Clay Street, and I've come out a couple of times and actually prayed with the people on the corner. We had one young man who was a student at Annapolis Middle, and he asked us to pray for him to stay away from drugs. And his aunt had just come by. His cousin had just come by and talked to us. And Miss Dee Dee and all, they go down the street, pray with people on the porch, and of course some of them, it was only supposed to be for the summer, but it has gone beyond that because people have asked for it, and literally standing on the corner has gone away. But one thing I want to mention here between St. Anne's and St. Philip's, and there's a history that everybody needs to understand. There were times, and not so distant past, that there was some very bad issues, and it's centered around race between St. Anne's and St. Philip's. Much more recently, these issues have been resolved. And you can see today,
the partnership.
They are being.
They are being that they are being resolved. But there were some really serious matters going on. We're not gonna get into the exact details. But them working together is huge. It is really huge, and I had to say that. And I will say this we're gonna move on, since we're talking about reading, we're gonna move on to STAIR. My dad always used to say, we talk about, we get down on how much are we doing, shouldn't we be doing, and all more. And he would say, think about where we would be if you weren't there. Think about if Miss Rita wasn't there, or Angel wasn't there, and everybody in this room wasn't there. What would our city look like? It's a tough thing to think about. But we're going to move to Doug with STAIR program, since we're talking about reading. I jumped over a little bit.
Okay. So I think many of you are aware of the STAIR program. I'm the president of the board of STAIR. We've been doing this for 15 years. This year we have 105 second graders, and we are 100% focused on reading. So I have the easiest talk, because all I have to do is say we do reading. Now, we do partnerships with many of you here in the room. For example, we have 250 volunteers that do the tutoring. It's after school, it's 2 days a week. And the kids that start are recommended to us by the reading teachers. These second graders, when they come to us in the fall, cannot read Cat in the Hat. They don't know their alphabet. They don't know the sound of the alphabet. So we start where they are. We have a program that takes them right through the entire school year, and by May, we'll get 75 to 85% of those kids to grade level or above. Our volunteers get just as much out of this as the kids do, because our volunteers come back. We get 96% of our volunteers come back year after year. They fall in love with the kids fall in love with them, and one of the beauties of this is the kids know there's going to be an adult waiting for them at the schools, right after school, twice a week. One of the eye-openers to all of us, these kids have been disappointed so many times. They were in this program and then that program went away, or they were promised something and that didn't happen. So part of our consistency is to make sure we're there twice a week. We're also working with the parents. So let me tell you just a little bit about that. We invite the parents to come in and sit with us. We don't care when they got to Annapolis. We don't ask about immigration status. We're here to teach reading. That's all we do. So the parents sit there and listen to us go through things like sight words. Oh, that's how you learn sight words. How do you pronounce the long vowels and the short vowels? And we're showing the parents, not saying anything, we're just saying, watch how we do this. My favorite story, as many of you know, Robert Eads. He and I have sort of developed a friendship over the years, and his daughter struggled with reading. She was in the STAIR program, not this year, but previous year.
And I will say, Alderwoman Tierney from Ward 1 was her STAIR person. Yes.
So when I see Robert, the first thing he says to me, my daughter reads to me all the time. I say, aren't you happy? He says, yeah, we love it. So I think I'm going to go back to what you just said. We are touching the tip of the iceberg of the kids that need reading help. And I appreciate the police department, the fire department, all of you that come as guest readers, the people in all the other churches that help us. So each year, we try to do more. We started at Stanton 14 years ago with 9 kids. So we're now at 105 kids.
What schools, Doug?
Stanton Center, which is Eastport Elementary, Tyler Heights, Georgetown East, Mills Parole. We're also being asked by the school board to go north up near Glen Burnie, south into Lothian and Tracy's Landing. These are all communities where the kids are on free and reduced meal programs. They need help on the reading side. Now, this, I think, is a great opportunity. It's fun to hear what everybody else is doing, so I'm making a list here. We have some great partnerships, but it's very good to do these things together, like with Charting Careers. We do it with Seeds for Success. They had a reading program. Now they said, how about you do the reading program? So we do the reading program for Seeds for Success. But Ms. Rhonda, I want to thank you for bringing all these people together, because there aren't enough occasions like this where we hear what somebody else is doing. And finally, we start to see if we share some of these responsibilities, we're not duplicating. And that's very important. So all we need to see more kids is have more tutors. So let's welcome anybody. We'll train you to how to do this, because we have a curriculum that we do follow, and that's how we get the results. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Mr. Rick Soto.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Just to reiterate, SOFO, a consortium of small businesses along the Forest Drive corridor. We have an interest in Woodside, in Newtown, in Robinwood, and in Bay Ridge Gardens. And the interest is very simple. They are our neighbors, they are our clients, and they can be our employees. Now, most of our businesses are small businesses. We're not big, and we are growing, and we like to think that we're beginning to flex our muscles a little bit. People are listening to us. But we have, over the course of the last 2 years, because of our involvement with Street Corner Ministries, begun to move into the community a little bit, provide some support for special occasions. We're still thrashing our way through this. We haven't really found exactly what we want to do and where we ought to go, and maybe we won't. Maybe we'll just be an ad hoc support to the community. With this in mind, if you jump on our website, sofoannapolis.com, you'll scroll down and go to the menu and reach our outreach button, which will allow you to perhaps suggest something that you might like a little help with, that the folks in SOFO might be able to give you. Please keep in mind, these are by and large small businesses, although we do have some of the larger businesses along the corridor as well. Having said all of that, we've had a great year. We've been able to give backpacks. We've been able to coordinate the gifting of winter coats for people. We've been able, through the good offices of some of our businesses, to provide food to support events at various and sundry of the community activities. We look forward to continuing this, and we're thankful. Oh, the Arts Project, I should mention. The Arts Project. If you drive down Forest Drive and you pass the middle school, you will see that the traditionally, historically most unattractive fence in the area is slowly being decorated. This is an arts project where we're reaching out to various groups within the community, and the kids are putting together some historical art that is going to be displayed along the fence. And we'll be doing that. That'll be good. We'll also be helping the Rotary Club in positioning some of their small lending libraries in the various communities that we support. So the work continues. We'll try to be there to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rick. I'm going to jump to Aaron, Dr. Snell.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. I help run Charting Careers, which is a newer nonprofit in the city. We've been around for about 1.5 years. We were part of Box of Rain, and when Box of Rain dissolved, the kids that were served under their academic programming came to us. So we serve about 35 students right now, starting with third graders who are not reading on level. Because STARE is doing such a great job with second graders, we pick up with third graders not reading on level, and right now are doing weekly reading support, one-on-one tutoring, and then are following them with the hopes of building that relationship that will then continue throughout their career. So we are right now mostly with Mills Pearl Elementary School students, and we do our programming at the Boys and Girls Club because we don't have our own space. And then when they go to middle school, we do 1 day a week after school soft skills training, and so we're working on handshakes, eye contact, what are my interests, what are my strengths, in preparation for thinking about the future. So our middle school kids then get matched. What's really cool is that their tutors from elementary school who've worked with them for a few years under Box of Rain and now under us have built relationships, so they're usually following their kids as their mentor when they get into middle school. So our middle schoolers are there, and then our high schoolers, we have about 12 kids at each level and then 2 in college. Our 12 high schoolers we push into the school during Panther Hour every other week and do much more intensive college or career preparedness. So we're doing resume development, financial literacy, we have guest speakers come, and we want our kids to meet leaders of all different careers and all different ethnicities, backgrounds, so they can see themselves in leaders. We take them on multiple college visits each year. We took them to an HBCU college fair. We're doing service projects. And then we have 2 students, one of whom, our senior right now, she has lived in Robinwood her whole life. She has been with Box of Rain, I think, for about 10 years, and she got her first college application submitted. She's into 2 universities, and her mom got their family out of public housing. That's not us, but just when you see the support a mom has been able to get for her family, and now they are out of public housing, and all 3 kids are on this track for college, which is really exciting. We are, as a new nonprofit, been trying to figure out this network. Where do we live, and how can we best serve, and have been helping convene with Vanessa Bright of Maryland Reentry Resource Center, the other youth-serving and child-serving nonprofits, to say, how can we shift things a little bit to serve more kids, thinking cradle, and basically off of what the Alderwoman here, our mayor, has been modeling, of how can we wrap around together and be strategic and get some models going that we can replicate. And so we've, again, with STARE, we're doing a joint training with STARE on implicit bias with our tutors, and also growth mindset. So starting to think about how can we collaborate on training, how can we collaborate on curriculum, how can we start to build a model. And our key piece we're focusing on right now is building a mentoring network, so that we know all of the business leaders and people in different professions who are willing to come and be guest speakers, job shadow placement places. So if you're interested in being part of the mentor network, that's something we're absolutely hoping to share with other nonprofits and mentoring organizations. And that's where we're at right now.
I want you to talk about your consortium of
Yes,
nonprofits.
thank you for the reminder. So we had one meeting where we had 15 nonprofits, 35 leaders there, just to talk about how can we begin to collaborate more, so that instead of us trying to do our good things randomly, it's in a more of a cohesive, organized manner, and had a great meeting. We put together a steering committee, and we have our second meeting next Wednesday at 3 at Maryland Hall. As part of our efforts, we're trying to learn about funding opportunities for us to collaborate too. So next week we're talking about the Kerwin Commission legislation and how that impacts our youth and that we're serving and families, but also funding opportunities with the community schools model. How can we, as these youth serving and child serving nonprofits, work together? And then we're also going to be talking about, there's one other key piece of that I'm just blanking on. And the Community Foundation's new grant for youth. So that will be part of what we're talking about. So if you'd like to come, we'd love to have you. We are thinking the youth serving nonprofits, we sort of get ourselves organized and then figure out how we could be working more with the public sector and business sector to kind of piece something together. And one key piece I wanted to add that we're working on is that family relationship development. So we do home visits with every family every year, and I've been trying to build a relationship, because it's through that partnership that real support can happen. Because if we don't go to a home, we don't know there aren't books in the home, or we don't know that there's not beds. And so when we go home and start to build that relationship, we can start to have an opening to support in other ways. So that's where I'm really excited to keep learning about what else is out there, because we can't be providing all of that, but we can start linking families when we know the resources.
And every year the city gives out grants to different nonprofits throughout the city. So when Erin and I met last week and she told me about that, I was excited because that may be an opportunity with her consortium to be able to streamline that grant process that the city's been doing for years. So that's really, really helpful. One thing I want to mention, I got a preliminary report from Mr. Gerald, our city manager, which is a year old, as far as the services that the city is providing that support Anne Arundel County Public Schools, 1.2 million. That's a preliminary report. I'm gonna get Mr. Gerald to give us something more concrete. It's a year-old report, but I know we're doing more this year than we've done before, and each year it grows, but I will submit something more. Ms. Susan, are you leaving?
Yes, I am.
Okay, did you want to tell us a couple things? Just where you all did a nice project this summer, the backpack with your church?
August 22nd, John Wesley, Mount Zion, and Eastport United Methodist Church crosses the threshold, and the 3 churches joined 11 county organizations, so that we're doing public, private, and faith and secular organizations. We serve 378 families. We're on the property, hosted on the side lawn of Eastport United Methodist Church, but fire and crisis response and police department, fire trucks were there for the kids, NAACP came with bounce houses, high school art students painted faces, and then backpacks were given to the kids. The kids chose their backpacks, what they wanted, and they were filled with about $35, $40 worth of school supplies. So that will happen again this year on August 22nd. We will push that word out, but it's August 22nd. The giveaway starts at 10 a.m. It's a 2-hour festival to wrap around and give these kids, really treat them with dignity. You know, they make bird houses. The Alliance for Chesapeake Bay came and brought crabs and oysters for them, you know, so every kid all the time. There's one other exciting thing is we've now connected the Spanish Seventh-day Adventist Church that meets within the same facility, and a consortium of 9 Spanish churches is now connected to the Centro de Ayuda for healthcare services, but the Spanish Seventh-day Adventist Church is looking to do a health fair at the church facility on April 19th. It's a Sunday from 1 to 5 in the afternoon to bring a collection of doctors and dentists together to actually give the services there that afternoon. That pastor just relocated from Nebraska to Annapolis, so he's not connected at all. So I will be bringing him into this meeting because he doesn't know that all these services are there, and it's a collection of 9 Spanish churches that have really been very siloed, and a lot of them are up and down South Forest Drive. So the Center of Help is looking for possibly moving. They've been in talks with the mayor's office about taking over open space and increasing in your area of South Forest Drive, so they would be in walking distance of all that low-income housing in that area, and to be able to offer more services. And I would love them to connect in with your consortium. Be really brilliant.
One thing I want to mention, last week, Susan is the education chair for the Anne Arundel Women Giving Together organization. They had a Dr. Harden Jones come from University of Maryland College Park to talk about the first 1,000 days of a child's life. She was excellent. They're also next month they're going to be doing a Women's Census Bureau. So hopefully March 4th, I believe.
March 4th, Wednesday evening, the cost of silence. We're really doing a push into Latino and Hispanic communities and others, low reported and unreported persons. The cost of silence in this county is $43 million was left on the table that didn't come into this county because it was underreported. And that was 10 years ago. We believe that because of fear and other tactics that have been used against these invisible communities, that will even be a greater gap this year. So there is a speaker on March 4th that Doug's wife is We have gotten to the attention of the governor's office, and they will be here to see how they can support the efforts, and Karen Smith is really engaged in this, how to reach those communities to get those reporting numbers up. We're looking at using that network of Spanish churches. They are a trusted neighborhood source. If we can get computers and laptops and volunteers into the Spanish church communities and getting those persons to understand that this is not connected to immigration, this is not connected to government purses, but through their trusted neighborhood church pastor who says it's okay, we can fill out the census.
I had a privilege of going to an event a couple of weeks ago at Eastport Terrace Harbor House, and the governor's office in charge of direct communications, Ms. Sue
Kim,
yeah, was there, and I kind of hooked everybody up into the census,
all through you.
and so that was tremendous. Thank you so much, Susan. We'll move on.
Susan, also, I would suggest contacting the city and the county Hispanic liaison with this Hispanic pastor, and we can talk more about that.
That would be great. Thanks,
Great.
Pastor.
Thank you so much, Pastor Jerry. We're going to move on to, Orlando Lodge was not able to be here today, but Serenity Sisters works very closely with them. Angel, you're up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, can I just say thank you? Thank you. Mrs. Mayor? Rhonda, thank you for bringing us all together. I'm sitting here and I'm listening to everybody, and I just cannot help thinking how grateful I am to live in a city that is coming together. I'm a longtime Annapolis resident, and I've seen some great divides in this city between city, county, that whole, and I never understood it. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be a part of. Serenity Sisters, we offer recovery homes in the city of Annapolis. We operate 7 homes. We serve 3 homes with women and children, 2 homes for men. They do not live together. They live in separate houses. I am asked that question all the time. Are they co-ed? Absolutely not. Because then I would have to have more than 1 women and children's house. I'm positive of that. So I have 1 women and children's house, and then we also operate a 4-bed crisis stabilization home, and we work very closely with crisis response. So when an individual walks into a safe station and they go in and they are seeking help, what we found is that we didn't have anywhere to house them for that 4 to 6 to 8 days that it takes to get into treatment, and often what was happening was catastrophic results because they had to go back home, they went back into the street. So I am one of 4 in the county, 4 organizations that works with that. We have been operating in the city since 2012, and really what took me to that place personally is I'm a person in long-term recovery. So what that means for me is that I've not found it necessary as an Annapolis City resident to use drugs or alcohol. And I just want to give back. And it has taken me into some of the most amazing places. So that is Serenity Sisters. I'm happy to talk about that anytime, but here's the other thing I will tell you, is that I like to say that I am nosy, and I like to have my fingers in a little bit of everything, which led me to, I'm a coordinator for the Annapolis Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition, and we work with the youth. So we get to partner with Pastor Sherrill down at the H2O South Clubhouse. She allows us to go in, have dinner with the children, talk to them about things that really matter. Because Rita, you hit it right on the head. That I think that what we think, or many people in the community think that our children face, is not really what they face. They're facing things that no child should have to face. So I work really hard in prevention. And through Serenity Sisters, I believe in volunteerism, and our residents have to do volunteer. They have to go out and volunteer in the community. And what I found is that I have people that come through Serenity Sisters and they go out into the community and they do great things because they had the potential all along. So that's ASAP. We work with the police department, Ms. Patty and Amy, to help with summer camps.
Ms. Hacker, do you have to leave? Okay. We just want to recognize Hacker here. excuse me.
You're
Angel,
fine,
And
you're fine.
you're representing Bridget
Yes, ma'am.
McLaughlin. And just to thank you so very much for what you do at HACA, and we'll get together again.
Yeah, thank you
Okay,
so
thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then I'm also the coordinator of a recovery coalition. And I think that everything that I do is worthwhile to the community, but here's what I will tell you, is that in my hand I have a survey. And Recovery Anne Arundel worked together with the health department to put this survey together, the Life and Recovery Follow-Up Survey. So we put it out, it was 6 weeks, and we got back some great results. But this is what I found out through this, and the health department as well, is that this is not an accurate representation of the city of Annapolis. And I never understood the difference in the county demographics and the city. And I've worked in both, and I live in Annapolis my whole life. This representation, 76% of the respondents were female and 92.7% were white. They were Caucasian. And I have asked the health department to be able to release this again, and I'd like to get into the hands of city residents. We did it online. A lot of people say people don't have access to that, but they do. They do. I mean, anytime you turn around, somebody has a phone in their hand. So we would like to get it into the city of Annapolis, run it again, and that way, working with OEM and working with the police department and OIT, we can get some good, rich data for the city of Annapolis. Through that coalition, and because I want to be mindful of time, Recovery Anne Arundel is bringing in a recovery resource center into the city of Annapolis. And I've heard so many people talk about the needed resources that the population that we serve, that they need. And all of the things that were talked about here, they will all be components of this center within city limits. And I will end with this. This year, so again, through Recovery Anne Arundel, this year is our fifth year of Hoops for Hope. And what this is a very lively basketball game between a group of young men in recovery and the Anne Arundel County Police Department. We are looking to bring it into the city, to work with the city police department. What a great day. I mean, these are two populations that would not normally mix. And it is a lively game. They come together on that court and they've made connections. Those officers and those gentlemen have made connections that will probably last a lifetime. I can tell you that we are 2-2. So the chief and I, Chief Altamari, will be standing on the sidelines this year, biting our nails, I am sure of it. It is March the 29th, and Rhonda, if you would be so kind, I will get you a flyer and you guys can get the information. It is a fundraiser, $10 a ticket, but I'll get all that information out to you. And if you want to find me, I have, I text, I email. Sarah helps me all the time with that, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The recovery walk that Angel Serenity Sisters has every September is usually downtown from Arundel Center, downtown and back. This year in September, we're looking toward having a citywide walk. We're going to go through all the public and subsidized housing communities, starting with Eastport Terrace Harbor House, going around to Clay Street, to Annapolis Gardens, to Bywater, around and end up back at Eastport Terrace Harbor House. We're going to have the city trolley that's going to be provided. We're going to walk, but those who cannot walk will be on the trolley. And at every station, there will be opportunities to connect with recovery or connect spiritually. So that's on the radar, and we've talked about that, and that's what we plan to do in September. Thank you so much, Angel.
Thank you.
We're going to move to Roxanne. You get half your time because you've already used up half. And Ashley Workforce.
Of course, with workforce, we understand the workforce development side and the job training, but our organization has gone into communities. Like I said, I was in Reed Village for 3 years, working with the community where I sat smack dab in the middle of the community. And since we've opened in Freetown, Stanton Center, and we're looking to do Brooklyn Park. But aside of all that, what I found is, and I try to explain this to my CEO time after time, it's different in the community than what it was being in the career center as an operation with the rest of our partners. We run into a lot of different things in the community, including the drug addiction. Last week, helped a young lady get into Sarah's house. One gentleman came in with just 16 expungements. So it's not just workforce itself, it's all these other things that surround workforce. But what I really want to mention for a moment is, we talked about the opioid issue. We got an opioid grant recently, and I decided that I wanted to learn more about opioids. And I took the training, I became a peer support specialist, though I never abused drugs like that, but I got a better understanding going to this training. But I had a gentleman come down, actually the gentleman who trained me, Rita was there, he talked about the other side of the opioid addiction, which is the workforce side. So we have something that they've actually coined as the new workforce, where we have the people that have abused, that have used, that have been in these situations, who are now in our workforce, such as peer support specialists, house managers, peer supervisors. So there's another whole side. Even though these people abused and went through what they went through, now they're on the other side supporting people who are in the situation that they were in. They've gone beyond where they were. So I'd like to bring him in at one point to talk a little bit about, or maybe that different setting, to talk a little bit about that new workforce that we're looking at now, because they're looking at putting the peer support specialists in hospitals and in different venues where they can assist people who are going through these issues at any given time. So
the city has had many testimonials and PSAs that we're doing on City TV of those who have gone through recovery and come out on the other end. And it has made a stark difference. And Rita had told me a story recently about a gentleman. But anyway, we're encouraging people to get on City TV, because that's a mechanism that a lot of people are watching. So thank you so much, Roxanne. Mark Pendell from Department of Labor was unable to make it here today, but he and Roxanne do all of our job fairs and our career fairs here. I think since 2016, we've done about 6 or 7, and they've all been extremely successful, which led to the site now at Stanton Community Center. We convinced them that that was an extreme need. So anyway, thank you so much, and I'll get with Mark later. Mr. Kenneth Starks is not here. He's at Annapolis High School, but he's working with, he's head of community transitions. Ms. Rita, you want to bring something to our attention?
I work closely with Mr. Starks in Annapolis High. He's a student advocate and I'm a community ambassador. And I've been drafted into H2G and to community transitions with Mr. Starks. And I just wanted to share, about 2-3 weeks ago, we had a round table with the children from the youth, the teenagers from H2G, and some members that are running for the board. And in that meeting, the children got to explain or talk about how their learning environment is affected and what they see could be a benefit to improving the school systems and things like that. And I was really excited because the board members, we went over our time and they didn't want to end the conversation because of so much engagement from the youth and what they were sharing. And one of the things that came out of that was one of the people that are running, and I'm sorry, I don't remember her name right now.
Ms. Tobin?
Yes, Ms. Tobin. She uses a tablet to be able to speak. And so in that,
you're talking about Ms. Oates.
Ms. Oates,
Yes.
she uses a tablet in order to be able to speak. And we have 2 women and a child in Woodside that are able to speak. And this light bulb, I've seen it happen before, but in this setting, that particular day, it was like a light bulb that went off in my head. I'm like, we're gonna do a fundraiser and we're gonna get them tablets, because I know that those families have been in that community for over 20, 30 years. and not be able to communicate with others, not be able to take part in certain activities because they're unable to speak, or we barely can, be able to communicate with them. And then now you have a child that also is experiencing this, and to eliminate, her from having to go through the same thing for 20, 30 years as well. By having a tablet, she'll be able to communicate with the people in the community, in schools and all that. So I put that out on Facebook, and we did a fundraiser, and within 2 days, we got all the money that we needed to be able to buy the tablets. Miss Angel jumped in there, and she offered a tablet as well. So I'm going to take it up on the offer, because now it's 3. I was aware of the 2 and wasn't aware of the child that had the same issue. So we can use it for the child. So thank you. And out of that meeting, the children were able to share different things in the school system that kind of prohibits them from learning. And if they said things like the walls, how concrete the walls, no windows, like red hallway, the red hallway, blue block, and the different things like that, that also represent the prison system as well. And that came from children. They also talked about how they come from the community into the school, and the trauma that they face in the community, and they come right to school and it's not addressed. So then you have some barriers there at school where it prevents them from learning as well. But I thought that was an awesome meeting, and it was because of Mr. Starks that created that environment for that round table, for them to be able to share with the people that are running for the board.
Great. Thank you, Rita, for sharing that on behalf of Mr. Starks. One other thing, and we're going to get to Grand Mears. I want you to mention about your community, about your pantry, but also Miss Melissa Maddox Evans, who's now the executive director of HACA, has mentioned that they're looking at putting community gardens in the different public housing communities as well. But tell us a little bit about your pantry.
So I've been back in Woodside. I came back as about, just coming back to give back, because I grew up there.
And she's written 2 books.
Yes.
So,
so one of the books is Can Any Good Come from Newtown 20? So that's my give back to the community, and I give a portion of the proceeds from that book back into the community. I came into a space where it wasn't being used. The guys were just hosting some salt for winter, so when it snows or whatever. And I saw this space, and I'm like, we could use this as a pantry. And there was some racks in there, so they gave me the permission. We started a pantry. We don't have any federal funding or anything like that. We have not gone empty in this pantry since it started back in August. We have so many supporters from the community, EP Church, Downtown Hope, Calvary Community Church, my church. So many people.
Name the church, Ms. Rita.
True Church of Christ for Sinners Only. Elder Riley Medley is my pastor. But so many people help fill this pantry on a regular basis, and we have not gone empty. We at a point right now where if I don't get some help, because I already work a part-time and a full-time, and the pantry has become a full-time job as well. So if I don't get some help, I don't know what we're going to do. But it has been an overflow. So
sounds like the loaves and the fishes.
Yes.
So people can come in there all day long.
Yes, the pantry, well, not all day long, but the pantry is called The Village, and it's bringing the village back to 20. So it's for the entire Newtown, not just Woodside, and not just Newtown 20, and not just Julian, but the whole of the Newtown Drive. And we also, people give me a call from other communities needing to bring someone over to the pantry, and the doors are open. And that's one of the good things about not having the federal funding, is because I can give to whom I know that has a need and things like that. And within the pantry, we help, people with rent, career, clothing for career, for jobs and stuff like that. And the biggest thing that we're ready to do is the community garden, which we're getting up and running now, and should hopefully have our ground ready for spring. So.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Rita. We're going to go to Grand Mears. Then we're going to go to Beacon Light Seventh-day Adventist Church. Then we're going to go to Krista Belanca from Infants and Toddlers. And we're going to round out everything with Dr. Nash talking about transportation in the city and planning and zoning. Okay, and I think I've hit everybody. Okay. Okay.
I'll be real quick because I can talk and talk all day. My name is Erin Holland. I'm the founder of Grandma's Touch. A little background about myself. I was born and raised in Annapolis, where I grew up in Newtown 20. I left after I got out of high school and went to Atlanta to start a career in nursing, where I came back, where I now been an ER nurse for 9 years. I started an organization called Grandma's Touch. It's a nonprofit organization that helps kids the ages 11 to 18 that's based here in Annapolis. So it's help youth with critical life skills in areas such as education, health, and personal development. We meet every third Saturday of the month from 2 to 4 at the American Legions. This past week, I was able to take 30 kids to the African American Museum, where they got to be able to, everything was free. Only thing they had to do was parents had to sign permission slips. And thanks to Miss Odessa, I was able to use her school bus to be able to transport all of the kids there. So I started the organization because I wanted to be the person I needed growing up. I didn't have someone who was able to push me and say, hey, Erin, you need to do this, you need to do that, because my mom was on drugs. But that never stirred me away from being the person that I needed. So I wanted to, once I finished school, come back and be an example of, just because you came from a low-income area, that doesn't mean that that's where it has to end. When it comes to, a lot of people touched on trauma and what we can do as a city, as a community. In 2018, I was a victim of a violent crime where I was shot and almost killed in Baltimore. And where it helped me to get through that situation was just having people who supported me and who I could talk to, and not even after the fact, still today, that would still call me and reach out to me and say, hey, you know, is there anything I can do for you? And also to touch on what Ms. Rita said too, I had made a partnership with T-Mobile where they're going to be donating 10 tablets to my organization, and I was just sitting here saying, hey, what could I utilize those 10 tablets for? So you're welcome to have those, Ms. Rita. And so, yeah, that's what my organization does.
Great. Thank you so much, Erin. We appreciate it. Did I say Beacon Light was next? Seventh-day Adventist Church?
I'm Clifford Fields. I'm a member of Beacon Light Seventh-day Adventist Church. And our late pastor, Pastor Claude Harris, had this vision that went along with what Rhonda was doing with the coalition into the community. And so he asked me, and I have two hats representing Beacon Light, but I also am the owner and founder of Fields and Fields Treatment Center, which is located in District Heights, Maryland. But we do work right here in Annapolis. Pastor asked, would I be willing to bring my program from District Heights to Annapolis? And I said, okay, we could. And what happened was we went into Newtown 20 was our first development we went into. We've been in Newtown 20 now for the past 4 years. We're servicing right now a consistent 8 to 9 families with mental health and substance abuse issues. And what we're doing, the folks said, we didn't want to drive by, as Angel said. We didn't want to drive by where you came in, you did what you do, get a few photo ops, and then leave. That has been a problem since coming to Annapolis that I found. A lot of organizations come in, they do what they need to do for the moment, they lose the grant or lose enthusiasm, they're gone. Well, the folk, trust is an issue. And we found that if you're not consistent in what you're doing, folk are going to say, okay, here's just another photo op. And we did not want to just be a photo op. And so, as I said, we've been consistent with these families. We've moved them from changing the paradigm of their thinking to now seeing that they can become homeowners, that they can move out of public housing. And I like what you said. I like what you said. You wanted somebody to be who you needed growing up. And that's what we're trying to do as a church. And so every week we're with them. Phyllis Coleman, who lives here in Annapolis, who is not here today, she services the folk in Newtown 20. They see a psychiatrist, they see a therapist. We also do PRP, stands for psychiatric rehab. We come into the community, we come into the homes, and we have young people now who leave Newtown 20 every Wednesday to come to my office because we have a teen approach dealing with substance abuse, mental health, and just the various things that kids go through in school. So we're not trying to take away from, we're trying to add to what you guys are doing and to make sure that we're making a difference here in Annapolis.
Elder Fields, thank you so very much. We appreciate that. Next, Krista, and you can talk about a little bit about the history of you and I trying to start the Birth to Five.
That's right. That's right. So I apologize for being late. I was at another meeting this morning, but I am Krista Blanca. I'm a social worker and the family outreach specialist with the Anne Arundel County Infants and Toddlers Program, which is, for those of you who don't know, I think a lot of you know, you've probably heard my spiel before, but we are early intervention for Anne Arundel County Public Schools. We are the people who service your babies 0 to 3 years old. And then we have another program 3 to 5 years old. So everybody, we touch everybody before kindergarten. If a child has 25% delay in cognition, fine motor, gross motor, speech and language, okay? So we are early intervention for the school system. What's different about us is, first of all, we are free. Second of all, we see all families in their homes. So we are the front lines. We are in every single community here in Annapolis. We are in every single community in South County. We are in Brooklyn Park. We have been for 4 years. We will continue to be. So when there are little ones who are, so in the course of your work, sort of my urge to you specifically for some of our fire and rescue people, some of the people who, if you guys are working with families, if there are little ones that you encounter who do not have the skills that they need. If you see a toddler who's not talking, you need to call early intervention. If you see a toddler who's not walking, you need to call early intervention. If you see a baby who's not reaching, grasping, touching, doing all those things, we'd love to prevent. We'd like to put you guys out of business, right? So we'd love to be able to catch all, the goal of early intervention for the school system is to catch all children who have disabilities and delays before they get to kindergarten. And some kids are going to continue on into kindergarten with an IEP, but some of them won't because of the work that we do. So like I said, we have physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, and educators. And then there's me, the social worker. So we work with about 1,000 or so children in 0 to 3, and another 1,500 to 2,000 in 3 to 5. So we see a lot of kids around the county. And again, we have in infants and toddlers, we have about 80 staff members. So you are seeing us all over. Rita sees us. We are out and about, and our speech therapists, our physical therapists, our occupational therapists are sometimes calling you because we're in the home and we're there to provide services for the baby, and mom is asleep on the couch or can't get out. So we see it all. Okay, we really do see it all. So that's the early intervention spiel, and it's very important that everyone knows about early intervention because it is a service that we all pay for, right? It's taxpayer funded. It is school intervention for our children in this county and in this city, and there's no reason why any child who has a disability or delay, and 25% delay. So it doesn't take much for a child to qualify for our services. But if we are in there with your children or with the children in these communities, we can make a big difference. We can really shift the paradigm, and we can help them get ready for school. I've been in this job for 7 years, and Miss Rhonda and I have been good friends for a long time. We've worked together on a lot of projects, and part of my role with infants and toddlers is to also be sort of the community liaison, to let everybody know about early intervention and who we are and what we do, and also provide services in addition to sort of the traditional early intervention stuff. So for me, part of what I do is I do parent support work. Right now I'm running a group at Chrysalis House. I see moms and babies and moms and little ones, providing that real support for parenting because we know it's a struggle. The other thing that we are doing is we have a new Caregiver Connect program. So any families that are in our Birth to 5 early intervention services, when you think about kindergarten and first and second grade, there's opportunities at the schoolhouse for caregivers, whether it's a parent or a guardian of a child, to connect with other parents. Just by the idea that you drop your child off at school or you put your child on the bus, you get to know the other parents or the other caregivers. When you're receiving early intervention services, or even if you're not, you're isolated, right? You don't maybe know some of the other parents. And so part of what our new Caregiver Connect program is designed to do is to connect all those parents together. What we've done that's different is that we have Caregiver Connect groups in small communities all across the county, including with Paulette Carroll at the Stanton Center. So our goal is to really make sure that our parents and our caregivers, whether they're a grandparent, whether they're an aunt, whoever they are, and we know there's a lot of grandparents raising children. We know there's a lot of kinship care providers that are providing care for our children, right, our little guys. We want those caregivers to have an opportunity to connect with one another. We are training parent ambassadors who are going to be running each of these Caregiver Connect programs. So it's not going to be me running these programs. It's going to be other parents. We've trained our first group of parent ambassadors, including Ms. Paulette. And so we have the opportunity for parents who have kind of been there, done that, help some of the new parents. And also teach parents to advocate or caregivers to advocate on behalf of their children. So if we have children who do have disabilities or delays, part of what's scary is navigating and advocating for your child at the school system level. If I have a child who's delayed and can't read, and I get to second grade and I find you, that's wonderful. But if my child has an IEP and I don't understand the language or the technology, I don't understand what you're saying with the IEP, I don't understand why my child has that IEP, well, that's a problem, right? And so what we want to do is we want our caregivers, we want our guardians, we want our kinship care providers, we want our grandparents to be able to advocate on behalf of their children. And the best way that we can do that is by connecting them with other parents who have been there before, and teach them the tricks of the trade, teach them how to sit at a table with a group of very scary people who are talking about your child and your child's IEP, and help you feel comfortable sitting at that table. And early intervention, our little guys, they have what's called an IFSP. We call it a baby IEP. It's an IEP, it's a legal document. If you came across one of our educators or our physical therapists in Newtown 20 or wherever, and you'll see us. I mean, we're out all the time, every day, all day long. Hopefully we're wearing our badges. We don't always, I don't always. But if you come across all of us, what we're doing is providing legal special education services to those children. We are bound by a legal document that requires us to provide those early intervention services. Those services are federally mandated. Every child in this country, every state, every county is required to provide early intervention services through this baby IEP. So when you see us, I want everyone to know that's who you're seeing, and we are part of these communities. We've been doing this a long, long time, and we're just excited and to try and sort of work as best we can with all the different community partners. It is really important to me that everyone knows kind of who we are. So when you see us, you might be seeing one of our teachers, you might be seeing one of our physical therapists, you might be seeing an occupational therapist who's teaching a baby to swallow, who's teaching a little one to walk. And the other thing that I did want to mention specifically, Angel knows this, but some of you may not know, children who are born addicted are automatically eligible federally for our early intervention services, okay? So those babies should be getting early intervention services no matter what. So again, if you're out in the community and you see a mom who's pregnant and is using methadone, if that child's born withdrawing from methadone, no shame. That child's eligible for early intervention services and should have them, okay? They're free, and that child needs them. So one of the things that we are now working with is there's a new program that's through Department of DSS and Health Department and us. We're going to be providing any child who's born with a substance exposure or substance addiction is going to be getting an opportunity. If mom goes into treatment, that baby will get a social worker through DSS and a Healthy Start worker through the Health Department and our services for at least a year. And that's important because they would have us for a year anyway, but they're gonna have a DSS social worker for up to a year or more. So those children, we're trying to catch them right at birth. And so again, part of the way you guys can help us is if you know that there are children who are born withdrawing in the NICU and they go home and they're not getting early intervention services, we're not scary. We'll come, we just are there to help your baby. So just make sure that, you know, that's who we are, and that's kind of what we do, and we're looking to partner with everyone as best we can.
Thank you so much, Krista.
I just want to say, just real quick, I met Krista through this network. She had already been in the community, but I had a parent come to me about the day that she was having with her. I believe he was 2 years old at the time, and I had the card from being in this setting, and I gave her a call. And now the child can say, "Hi, Miss Rita." Well, he couldn't say that at first.
We have, this topic probably deserves more time, but we all need to be aware of the census that's coming up.
Oh, what again?
The census. We undercounted primarily the at-risk communities last 10 years ago, last census, which meant $43 million did not make it to our county. So the whole point, I was just talking to the folks next door, they're helping the Latino community.
Exactly. And they're gonna be back Thursday.
Yeah, so I'm gonna send you the information. It's a seminar on March 4th, and it's titled "Silence is Not Golden," which is...
That's what Susan mentioned.
Yeah, it's a clever title, but the point is, we need to, all of us, the whole community needs to participate in the census so that we get the money, because if we don't fill out the forms, it'll go to somebody else. $43 million, and you need more. We all need more. So filling out that census form, and there's a trust issue. Is this information going to be used inappropriately? And so we got to get people to feel comfortable to fill out these forms.
And this building is huge with bringing in, I know Roxanne and our workforce is coming in on Thursday for the census, where they're going to be hiring census workers as well. But this building is huge in bringing in opportunities for people to meet and that sort of thing. But one thing I want to mention about Krista, 2 summers ago, because we had talked about trying to get, and I shared this story with Dr. Hughes and Dr. Gillens, we had I think it was 8 weeks of a series of programming to get mothers out to come and see what Krista's doing. And we did it about 4 times here, then we went down with Miss Phyllis at Bay Ridge Gardens. It just wasn't working. And so I am just excited to hear about this Connecting Caregivers program. But what I did mention, and I've talked to the mayor about it and our PIO, I have befriended a lady who's been doing birth to 5 classes at Anne Arundel Medical Center. She has at least one friend or two who does prenatal. So what we have decided to do is go on Annapolis City TV. And the other thing is, there's a young lady in this building who's a single mother, and she said when she was going through single motherhood, it was tough. And she just, she was really at her wits. So there was a Facebook page that got started. And so we're going to do it through Rec and Parks. We're going to have a city Facebook page for mothers, early mothers and fathers, but also we're going to have a TV show to talk about prenatal as well as birth to 5. And the name of the title of the show is going to be A Child is Born. And so we're working on that. And so we've got a little behind in the past couple of weeks. That's where some of that money that the mayor is going to be has found for us, that's going to be going for that TV program as well as that Facebook page. So we're working it from all ends and in between. But Krista and I have talked about this many hours. She got me involved in LICC.
The local interagency coordinator. And
I got an email yesterday from Wes Campbell to come to the next meeting. So thank you so much. And we're going to end this with Dr. Nash and Mr. Borchers from our City Planning and Zoning Department. And Dr. Nash, we're going to congratulate you because on Friday you will be sworn in as our new City Director of Planning and Zoning. But she's been here a long time and now she's taking the helm. So thank you, Dr. Nash.
Thank you all very much, and thanks everyone for all the work you do. My department manages community development, we do economic development and permits, licenses. We're also doing the comprehensive plan right now for the city. So if there's any way we can help you or be a resource to your organization, please contact me. And we'd love to work with you and help you in any way we can. Also, speaking of the census, we can provide you with flyers if you would like to be able to hand them out. We have English and Spanish flyers. Eric recently got $19,000 from the state to help us with our census outreach. So we're going to be hiring an outreach coordinator and buying some tablets to help people take the census because it's supposed to be taken online this time around. So if I can help you in any way, please let me know.
Dr. Nash, you want to explain a little bit about the Forest Drive Corridor Task Force as well as the coalition and how that impacts our school system and our buses and our traffic and public safety and all of that too, please.
Right, so the comprehensive plan and the studies we do focus on land use, but as you can imagine, land use quickly also involves discussions of transportation and quality of life issues. And so we're working with the Forest Drive Eastport Sector Study Task Force with state and county government to make sure all of our efforts are coordinated and we can make substantial improvements in that corridor.
And one of the crux of this task force and coalition that I'm on as well, we have Chicopee Railroad is a city roadway, Forest Drive is a county roadway, and RC Allen is a state roadway, and they all merge together at that one intersection. And we've always kind of had issues dealing with all three governmental agencies. Well, all three governmental agencies are at the table working hard. I think we got a fourth meeting coming up soon. So we're working on that intersection as well as all along the Forest Drive corridor. We're going to try to do something when it comes to the traffic, the public safety. We've got a lot of numbers we're unpacking, and so we're looking at that wholeheartedly, and Dr. Nash is at the helm and with Eric Borchers. And Eric brought to my attention a couple of weeks ago, Eric said, Rhonda, can we look at getting some youth from Annapolis High School to be on a committee to look at some of these issues along Forest Drive? I need to schedule a meeting with Mr. Jelinas, who's the principal. We're going to find some students to take care of that as well. But Alderman Gay has also put in a resolution where we're going to have a youth advisory board for the city, where we're going to be looking at several different issues from several different vantage points, and we're going to have probably about 10 youth on that from probably late the 5th grade on up to 12th grade. So that's some more collaboration we're having with the school system as well as the city. So thank you, Eric, for bringing that suggestion to my attention. Make sure that everyone has signed the sign-in sheet. If you see someone who's left that hasn't, please do so. I'm going to give Dr. Hughes a copy of it. The other thing is, anything else for the good of the order is at the table, Elder. Anything else for the good of the order, downtown Hope? Thank you so much for being here.
I'd just like to announce, and Patty and Amy did not announce it, but our previous police chief organized a foundation board, and this foundation board raises funds to support community service. You can go to our website, and we accept small donations and even larger ones. Lieutenant Kraft was in need of a van. We thought we had purchased one that fell through. So if there's any businesses that would like to donate a van for community service, we would gladly accept it.
Thank you. Ms. Angel has an announcement.
So I see that the District 30 contingency wasn't able to be here. They're very busy over there in the House, but they held an event on Monday night. I walked in, I was astounded at how many people were there. It was like this, literally. Indeed. Thank God for Pastor Cheryl for me that night. It was a great event, and I just want to point out that Pastor Jerry got a very nice award from those, I call them the power team, those 3 ladies. And it was for all the good work that you do in the community. And I know that you would never talk about that, but you look quite dapper, sir.
Yes, one thing I think we need to remember too is we we are missing our Head Start friends here. They've had some transition with leadership, but we do need to reintegrate them back into our group.
Absolutely. Anybody else that you all believe should be a part of the coalition like the rest of you all are, please let me know and I will add them to the list. That's wonderful. Elder, did you have something else you wanted to say? Darren.
I just wanted to give an example of the hard work that all of you all are doing and how it's impacting the community. I got a call from, I'm a resident of Annapolis, and I got a call from a business owner who someone dropped off these shoes, brand new shoes, size 8 for a kid. And they just called me because they know, like you all, I'm involved in the community. And they say, hey, we have these shoes. They sent me a picture. What do we do with these shoes? I have a list of pastors in the area that I have their personal phone numbers. I sent a text out with the picture. I have these shoes. Does anyone know anyone who needs them? Well, that pastor, Downtown Hope, said, we will take them, and we found a family in Downtown Hope where a kid could use those shoes. And before I knew it, I took those shoes, picked them up from the business, took them to Downtown Hope, and Downtown Hope got them to the family. So this is just a testimony to what's happening in Annapolis, thanks to the leadership and the mayor's office, thanks to the fire department, the police. I mean, this is what it's all about. There is truly, the message is one Annapolis. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you so much. Pastor Jerry, you want to take us out? Anything else for the good of the order? Dr. Hughes.
I don't thank you.
Ta-da! That's for last.
Thank you.
Okay. Pastor Jerry.
Gracious, loving God, we thank you for our time together. We thank you for Rhonda, for bringing all of these team builders together. Now go out in peace, go out in love your God and love your neighbor. And in the name of the God you serve, we all say amen.
Amen. And thank our video team. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you all. Make